And now, the starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
Here we go. We have another big day of sports that hit us last night, and we are here to tell you all about it. Woo! I am fired up for today. I did not know that I was going to wake up this morning and realize that there was going to be so much to talk about, and I got news for you. We have a laundry list of topics. We had so many topics that we couldn't fit them all on the rundown there, so who knows where we ultimately end up going. Woo! But this is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, and that is not Ric Flair. That is Elliot Rearing over there. Casey McCollister, as usual, on the keys. But we have plenty to talk about. Blake Snell, he made some comments. We'll get into that. We have our headlines, as usual, per day that Elliot will get into. I like how we separated the bottom bar today. We have the intro, we have headlines, and then we kind of get into our topics. We have Blake Snell, useless things, Reds talk. We maybe even we do something special today. You wanted to do something special. Maybe we get into some. I don't want to ruin it. But maybe we get into something special. What in the absolute hell are you doing over there?
Woo! I'm getting us ready. This is how you start a day. Honestly, in school, when I was at grade school, we had to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Instead of doing that, we should have just done a bunch of woos. We get all the kids, we stand up, and we just go, woo!
Everybody, the Ric Flair.
Woo! And that's it. That's how we start. So that it just gets us ready to go. It gets the brain working.
What did they do when you were in grade school on getting you ready? Tom would always say you got to get ready to get ready to get ready. What did you do to get ready?
To get ready for school? What are you talking about? To get ready to get ready?
No, you said you had a teacher that would make you what? Stand up and
for the
clap or what?
No, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance. Gotcha. Yes. Don't get too down the rabbit hole of that. I don't even know if they still do the Pledge.
I don't
of
know if they do it
anymore.
Actually, I don't know if they do it.
I mean, that's how we started our day. You had the morning announcements. You had the Pledge of Allegiance at the end of the announcements.
I don't know if I can recite it.
And then basically, as a kid, more times than not, you were counting down how many hours you had left while you were at school.
Can I recite?
Were you a big school guy? Did you like school?
No, I hated it.
Yeah.
I thought school.
Casey, did you like school at all?
It was social hour. For me,
it was.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
there was nothing I despised more than school.
It wasn't fun.
I mean,
there's nothing like worse than waking up at 7. Like, okay, we're gonna go for 8. Basically, you're going to work. You're going to school.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get that. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but it was like a social hour for the most part. If you know what you're doing in school, if you're paying attention in class, and you just.
The most disappointing thing that I've realized, or I've come to realize after I've gotten out of school and when I was in school, was that there was a lot of. This is a strong word, but I feel like it's appropriate. There was a lot of lying to you by teachers when you were in school.
Yeah.
There was always this overwhelming threat of what will happen if you don't do this. Like, if you don't do this, you won't pass. You won't be able to get to second grade. And then second grade turned into like, well, if you don't know your multiplication tables, you can't get to third grade. And there was always this pressure every single year. You had to know something. Then you had to pass a test. And then when you get to high school, they start hitting you with the college thing. Like, You're not going to be able to get away with this in college. Not going to be able to bring in tissue paper for extra credit. I'm like, damn, I tell you what, college was the easiest of all of my schooling. I'm not saying it was easiest in regards to subject matter, but just the way it was structured was incredibly more feasible. You have an hour here, you get a little bit of a break, you go an hour there, you get a little bit of a break. Some days, hell, once you start to get smart with college scheduling, you could get 2 days off a week, sometimes 3, depending on how many credit hours you're going to take. But no, man, you show up at 7:30 in the morning and you're supposed to lock that puppy in until 3 o'clock.
Nonsense.
Just think about how wild that is. Think about how wild that is to ask some 7 or 8 or 9-year-old kid to show up at 8 or 9 in the morning and pay attention until like 3 o'clock. Am I asking? Am I being soft? Is the older generation right now really upset at me because I'm saying that that's just an absurd way of going about trying to educate people?
No, I think that's 100% accurate. If they're angry, that's on them. The world has changed. The times have changed. I think I did college, and similar to you, it was if you know how to schedule in college, you're set. I had like 2 classes on Monday, 3 classes on Tuesdays, and I would rotate between those 2 Thursday or Wednesday and Thursday, and then we get to Friday, and you just don't schedule any classes Friday. And that's beautiful. Like, why couldn't grade school be like that? And I think high school started to kind of do it.
Probably because it's can we call it what it is? It's a little bit of a daycare.
It is a little bit of, well, some of it is. I 100%. The kids have to go somewhere. It's 100%. The people have to work. The kids have to go somewhere. Some of the schools have now switched to block scheduling.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the difference between that and the regular. So I never had block scheduling. I had 7 classes every single day, 45 minutes a class,
right?
Every single day.
Periods.
We had periods.
Some kids are now getting like a 2-hour class, a 2-hour class, a 2-hour class. So you have like 3 2-hour classes,
yes,
instead of 7.
And we all know that you can't possibly sit there and focus for 2 straight hours on a subject. So what ultimately ends up happening is you're going to have like a 30 or 40-minute break within that class period. But hey, whatever. I mean,
Did
listen,
you cheat on tests? Were you a cheater?
You know, I feel like I'm grown enough at this point to admit things that I've done in my past, and yes, I was an all-time cheater. I wasn't just a normal cheater. I was the definition of an elite cheater, and I give a lot of credit. I actually give a lot of credit to the success in my life, to the way in which that I had to work as hard as I did to be able to successfully cheat. And in a way, in a really long-winded and weird way, to be honest with you, that's what I've been trying to do for the rest of my life, is really just to cheat my way through it to where it's like, okay, I really don't want to have to go do this, so I'd really like to do that. What do I have to do to be able to do that? And sometimes you do realize that, you know, it takes a lot of hard work, yes, but if you're passionate about it, then that's really the main ticket of success. If you really care about something, and you're not willing to stop no matter what, and you just keep going, and you don't really listen to anybody, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to be. Now that's some big life advice right there.
That's some very big life advice.
But I'm just saying, I did cheat a lot, yes. Do you have something that you cheated on that you're proud of? Because I have one thing in my mind that I know that I did, that I'll walk us all through it. Because that's why people tune in off the bench. They want to listen to this stuff. But I do think this is important. Did you do anything that was relatively you're proud about for cheating?
You know what stinks? I cheated a couple times. Like, I didn't cheat a ton. I feel very bad about things like that. I couldn't do it.
Really? You feel bad about cheating?
Yeah, it felt wrong to me. It felt bad. I don't know.
What'd you cheat on that you feel bad about? Right now, I can see the guilt in your eyes.
But here's the thing about that time. It was freshman year, and it was math. I don't do math.
Are we in college and high school?
High school,
Elliot. Okay.
College you can cheat. College is real world, so you just use your resources around you. That's not even anything.
Gotcha.
High school, though, when I was taking a math quiz, I don't do math. If you know Elliot, you know he doesn't do math. I can do multiplication, I can do division, I can do addition, I can do subtraction. Outside of that, you're gonna need to see somebody else. So I was taking a quiz on some sort of what's the verbal part of math that I took in geometry. They would do like word puzzles with you in math, and it's like, what the hell's going on? And I didn't know, so I looked over my buddy Andy Geigel. Well, I shouldn't have given him the full name, but Andy's paper in front of me, and obviously, so this. By the way, I'm gonna ramble here, but this story's crazy. So I did it, and I felt great about it. I didn't think anybody saw me, and I looked over my friend Andy's paper, and it was right before Easter break. So I'm like, okay, we did it. We didn't get caught. We're all going to Easter break happy. So we take like a week off, a week and a half. I'd forgotten about it at this point. And then usually there's, I don't know if they still do paper quizzes now in schools, but it was time to give the quizzes back to all the kids. And my teacher, who I won't name here, he was giving everybody their quiz back. And it gets to Andy and I's turn to get our quiz back, and we never get it.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, that's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good because we're the only 2 in the class. But the class ends. I'm like, all right, we're gonna get summoned over there. Surely nothing happens. And I knew if I went over there and asked him, why didn't I get my quiz, I'd find an answer I probably didn't want. So I just left the room that day. I waited yet another couple days until finally he comes up to us like, yeah, we caught you. We caught you, and you're going to get a demerit. So I got a demerit. I cheated like twice, and
So
I got caught.
you were a bad cheater.
I was a
Yeah,
bad
it
cheater.
sounds like you're a bad cheater.
I'm not a good cheater.
Bad situation there. So I have 2 stories really quickly. I won't spend too much time on these, but one that was a very, very, very risky play, and it worked out in my favor, but it was very not all that intelligent to do. The second one was a very sophisticated manner in which we went about cheating. So turns out, of all people, and I'll throw him right under the bus, because at this point I think we're both grown and old enough now to feel confident of where we are in life that we can do this. But Sean, the Spur Bear, as some might know him, we had a chemistry together, and we had other people within this class that we obviously were friends with, that we played sports with, whatever. And we had one friend, oddly enough, of all the people, and I won't name names, but oddly enough, the one that was the smartest was the dumbest. And I mean that genuinely. The one that actually knew all the answers in chemistry, the one that 100% was book smart, was by far the dumbest one of all of us in real life. And the reason I say that is because we were playing a game over at Lakota East, for those that don't know, out in not Westchester, in Liberty Township. It's right by the highway, right? We're playing a baseball game there in high school. This is the same guy that we cheated off of. This was the person that had to have all the right answers for us to be successful, and I'll explain in a minute. But we were outfield and we were stretching, and we'd always have stupid arguments in the outfield, like if it's buy one, get one at the store, do you just get 2? Should you just get 2 or do you get 3 type thing? Or how many do you get for free? Just stupid stuff like that. Buy one, get 2 was what was the main argument 90% of the time when we were doing stretch lines. If it says buy one, get 2, do you actually get 3 or do you only get 2? It's a debate for another day. But point is there was a cell tower out in center field. And this guy suggested during the stretching out there that he could climb to the top of this thing, no problem. No problem. And we were like, you're an idiot. Turns out we go back to Hamilton, and he gets a group of his friends, and he goes to a cell tower in town and does this. Climbs the top of it and comes back down. No safety, no nothing. Just does it. That's the type of guy we're talking about. That's who we're cheating off of, by the way. And that's why I don't feel bad about any of this, because you realize sometimes in school that the smartest people turn out to be the dumbest people, and the dumbest people might be the smartest people depending on the setting. Depending on the setting, of course. So chemistry class comes along, and we're all cheating off of him. So it starts with him in the front row. He passes along the piece of paper to Sean behind him. And all it is that you drop it on the floor, and you get up, and you kick it behind you.
Yeah.
You can't just, turn around and hand it. Drops on the floor. You get up, you move your chair, you kick it. So, oddly enough, we always, at some point, each person would sharpen their pencil at least one time during the test, because that's how you had to get up. That was the excuse to get up, to be able to kick the paper behind you. So we did this all year long. All year long we did this. And then all of a sudden, the chemistry professor doesn't find out. I don't want to make this longer than it needs to be. He puts a word, a paragraph. You had to explain something in paragraph form at the end of this test. Now, none of these tests were like this before. This was an what is it?
Scantron.
A Scantron, thank you. So it was just the A, B, C, D answers. So you just needed to know, you didn't even need to have the test in front of you. You just needed to know the answers. And then you would change the answers a little bit. So it would always go, he would get right around a 95 to 100 every time. Sean usually is getting right around, an 85 or a 90. And I was perfectly fine with taking the B. Perfectly fine with that. But we had this test where we had half the test was worth this paragraph. Well, we found out about this in period 1. We had it in 4th period. So the plan came, Donald, not going to say his last name, he wrote down this entire paragraph of what it was as to why it exists. He crumbles the paper up, and the paper essentially is so this isn't like a smaller paper. This is a full size paper. Mm-hmm. Crumbles the paper up, takes it over to the pencil sharpener, and he leaves it on the pencil sharpener.
Oh my God!
So then Sean goes, takes the piece of paper, gets it, uses it, goes and takes it to the pencil sharpener, and then I go to the pencil sharpener, and it worked. We never once got caught in class doing this.
That's crazy.
Not one
Was the
time.
teacher old?
Not one time.
Was he an older guy?
Was he a guy that
he
would
really
care?
wasn't too old, no. Or he didn't care. That's the other thing I've thought about after. Like, maybe he just didn't care. The second question, the second one that was an all-timer was we had an essay that was pretty much like worth half the points in the entire class, and it was due on whatever, call it Tuesday of the week. And I keep calling him professor. The teacher's desk is a mess, an absolute nightmare. This guy's desk had papers stacked up this high. Okay, and you couldn't possibly think when you walked in that he has a clue of what's even on this desk. I realized that I was like most times in school, I failed, and I forgot that we had to have this essay turned in today. You know, you ever had that feeling when you sit down and they're like, all right, everybody, turn your test in. So everybody hands their papers and they have this big stack of paper and they hand it up. I decided I made a bold move in that situation. I was like, I'm just not going to turn it in. I don't have anything. I can't turn it in. I'm not going to turn it in. So I didn't turn it in. I let it go. And then they hand all the tests back, right? And I didn't have mine. And I raised my hand. I said, where's mine? I played it off like I gave it to him, and he lost it. And I was like, it's probably over there in that desk somewhere. Did you find it? It worked to a T. He said, well, you have to give it to me. Give me your other one tomorrow.
Oh, my God.
So I did it. It all worked out. So here I am, hosted Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
I got
Casey McCollister, you have one?
I've got one big one and then just one small word of advice for anyone that's actually still in school.
They're looking to cheat?
That is looking to cheat. You always
right.
want to cheat either with the smartest person or with the dumbest person in class.
Gotcha.
And here's why. If you're the smartest person in class, you can always just pass it off as, well, if it's not a test. If it's like homework and you get caught with your homework, it's simple as, he was just trying to help me out. He was just trying to help me learn this. I'm not very good at this subject. Thanks a lot for helping me. Yada, yada. You get passed on. Like, okay.
Some are asking if it even matters in Blanchester if you have to go to school.
Well, it definitely does. Yeah. He tells me stories of these classes, how
I'm about to tell that one.
Okay.
And if you're cheating with the dumbest person, you're the smartest person in class, and you're just trying to help them out, it's the same story. Anyways, my senior year was probably the easiest year of my entire high school, and I had pre-cal, calculus, college chemistry, physics, and like a American English class, whatever. And it was because I didn't have to do anything in my pre-cal class. Nothing. Because I had calculus. And I would just tell the pre-cal teacher, I already know how to do this. Starting from day one. Never had to do a test. Never had to do nothing. And,
what are the requirements to be a teacher in Blanchester? I mean, that's preposterous.
I just looked at her dead in the face, like we were trying to learn the pie chart. I'm like, yeah, I already know how to do that. See? And I pull out the pie chart that my calculus teacher gave to all of us to use.
That's wild.
I mean,
that's a bluff. That's a hell of a bluff you put on.
So it's not even a bluff. You're just saying I already know it. It's just like, whatever. That's terrible. I might go to I might retake high school classes in Blanchester.
You couldn't pay me
do
enough
that.
to retake high school classes.
I
All right, in the world of sports.
Sure.
In the world of sports, there, like I said before, there's a lot of things that happen.
Lots.
Elliot Rearing is gonna give you some of the top headlines of the day from last night. I checked them out, and let me tell you, they are big time. Which one do you want to start with first, Elliot?
Let's start in Cincinnati, Trace. The Xavier Musketeers. Good for them. They beat DePaul. They sent them back to whatever hole they crawled out of.
Chicago.
They won 91-58. Little shaky first half. I think they were up by like 3 or 4. Second half, Xavier outscored them by 29 points. So tough.
You know, when there's a really terrible team, Elliot, there's always this notion of, oh, you could get a lesser like league to play them and they would win. You know, you'd always say like Alabama football could beat the Browns or whatever when they were going over. DePaul, do you think we could find a state champion of a public school? So it can't be one of these like prep schools where they have like, 5 stars coming off the bench, because I think that's automatically DePaul loses to them.
100% they do.
But you think we could find a public school that's a state champion to beat DePaul?
Sure, I can find them.
They have 3 wins, so no disrespect to them. I guess we should talk about Louisville, because they did beat Louisville.
They beat Louisville.
But
and Chicago State.
I digress.
And
My
South
apologies
Dakota.
for interrupting your very
No, yeah, well, that's
serious
all I had.
headlines.
Quincy Alveri, he scored 32 points, 11 for 16 from the floor, which is preposterous. 6 for
Getting it
10,
done.
6 for 10 from 3. McKnight and Green, they both dropped 13 points. And I believe, Trace, some guy who I've never heard of in my entire life. Let me see if I can get this name right.
Yeah.
His name is Brad Colbert. He's number 45 for Xavier. He hit a 3 in the game to, I believe, give free Chick-fil-A to the entire arena.
Yeah.
So shout out to Brad Colbert. He was a hero. I'm on Yahoo Sports. They don't even have a picture for him. I can't even see what he looks like. But Brad, shout out to you, and shout out to Xavier. Are they back? Many are saying they're back.
Brad will tell his kids that. If Brad has a sense of humor, he will use that joke for the rest of his life.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, Xavier wins by 100, and it didn't matter. 10th ranked Duke. They beat Louisville 84-59. That's fun. Looks like Filipowski was fine. The court storming didn't end his career like some, including Jay Billis, said it would have. So congratulations to Filipowski after a tough. They came out and said it wasn't even a sprain. The initial report was it was a sprain.
He was acting like that was like legit semi-acting.
It was,
which is kind of wild. Like I don't understand that.
They said there was a small bruise, I think, and they put some ice on it.
Yeah, it was more of a bruised ego than anything.
Yeah, 100%. 6th ranked Arizona. They crushed Arizona State 85-67. People forget this is the last year of the Pac-12. I'm going to be really sad when it all ends. 12th ranked Creighton. They eviscerated Seton Hall 85-64. A lot of blowouts in the Big East. I feel like there's way more blowouts in the Big East than the Big 12. I could be wrong on that. But it just feels like every night there's some big blowout. 13th ranked Illinois. They got into a shootout with Minnesota. Minnesota hung on to win 105-97. You don't see Big Ten scores get up that high usually, so that's interesting. 14th ranked Alabama. They scored 103 points against Ole Miss. They won by, 15 points. Good for them. They look bad in the first half too. I thought Butler was going to be good. Butler's not very good. No. They're frauds. St. John's, they win by 23 points as well. Rick Pitino and Slick Rick, they might make a little tournament noise. If they get in the first 4, if they're able to get into the tournament, I think they can make some noise. LeBron James, going to the NBA, he scored 19 points in the fourth quarter to lead the Lakers back from 20. James had 19 in the fourth. The Clippers had 16. So he outscored the Clippers in the fourth quarter by 3 points.
It is impressive that LeBron James is as old as he is.
Oh, yeah.
And he's still playing serviceable basketball.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's haters out there. I know some people they can't stand LeBron for some things that he's done that I'm not here to argue about. But I'm just saying it is impressive how old he is, and he continues to get the job done to a certain extent. Also, another quick point I wanted to make about Butler. Is Thad Matta still in the running for Ohio State?
I don't know. I would say no. But who knows? Maybe they hire him back. Let's see. The Oilers, hockey news. This is how bad it is right now in sports that I have to mention hockey scores. And this is no disrespect to the great NHL. I have love and I have respect for that league. But if you think I'm reading down this score during the Reds regular season, you're crazy. Anyway, the Oilers beat the St. Louis Blues in overtime, 3-2. Congratulations. FC Cincinnati, they played a game last night, Trace, at home.
Yeah,
Casey, did you go?
I did not go.
Huh. And you're a real fan, right?
Yep, that's right. I watched.
Damn. Well, they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers again. They played them the first time last week. They're playing them again this week. This time by a score of 4-0. Aggregate, I believe this is by aggregate, as Casey explained it to me. So they won 6-0 in the 2-match showdown.
That's correct.
Pal Bupenza, Foster, and Valenzuela all had goals. I believe I pronounced those names right. Maybe not.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Other soccer news, Paul Pogba has been banned from football, and by football, Trace means soccer, for 4 years due to doping. That seems like an extensive punishment. 4 years for Paul Pogba. I've heard the name. I don't know who he plays for, where he plays in.
No one in this chat could care.
Yeah, I agree. And this is some interesting news regarding Rory McIlroy, and we got a couple clips regarding it. He fired back, and not really fired back, but he had a couple comments in response to Taylor Gooch, who said that the Masters will have an asterisk on it because the live guys aren't allowed to play. Taylor Gooch, Joakim Neiman just got an exemption for it. I believe the Masters invites whoever they want to invite kind of thing. I don't even know it's
the Masters takes the World Golf Ranking points and they utilize that to be able to qualify folks that otherwise wouldn't have qualified for other metrics. And essentially, the Masters can invite whoever they wish, but they do have a couple invites they use every single year. Neiman's a guy that is. I think he's South African. Maybe. Anyway, he won I think he won amateur. He won as an amateur, like their national championship as an amateur in the country that he was from, and I believe
Chile.
Is he from Chile?
Joachim Neiman, Chile.
Yeah. So ultimately, Taylor Gooch, who gives a rat? That's where I'm at with it. He's not. He's finished. I don't even think he's finished top 20 in any major he's played in. So we're sitting here talking about a guy that no one else could care about, which is on par, quite frankly, for the headlines of today.
Well, it's just how it is. It's just how the live golf goes. Do we have the clip, Casey, of Rory's comments?
Which one do you want to play first?
The longer one, whichever one's the first one I sent you.
Okay.
The longest one.
Yep, I got it.
Again, this is Rory in response to Gooch.
Look, the Masters is an invitational, and they'll invite whoever they think, warrants an invite. And I mean, I think, to be fair to Taylor, I think if you read the entire, like, the question and then the answer, it's not as if he just came out with that. I feel like whoever did the interview sort of led him down that path to say that. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt there a little bit. He basically just agreed with what the interviewer asked. But at the same time, Joaquin Neiman got an invite, and I played with Joaquin in Dubai a few weeks ago, and he went down to Australia and won. He was in Oman last week. He's been chasing his tail around the world to try to get this, either play his way into Augusta or show enough form to warrant an invite. And I don't know if the same can be said for Taylor.
Ooh.
A little spicy.
A little spicy at the end there. I could listen to Rory talk forever. I love that accent. But I think there at some point there's going to be a resolution to this Live Golf PGA Tour stuff. John Rahm said, I think it was last week or this week, that Tiger Woods never texted him back when he was telling people that he was going to live. So there's still a little bad blood amongst the PGA, at least some of the PGA guys. At some point, you just have to merge it. At some point, you just merge it. You play together, or you do it Ryder Cup style, where they're each their own leagues, but maybe once a year they all have a showdown, and it would be an elite event. But Rory actually said he might join the Live. Is that right, Casey?
I guess that's right.
That's right, Casey. Play the clip.
It's fantastic.
Rory, I'm wondering the last time you spoke to Chubby Chandler, and what do you think motivated him to say what he said, other than making headlines?
I think he's writing a book, so there is that. I spoke to Chubby. I might have saw him in the Middle East, actually, at the start of the year. So you never know. He might know a few things. Who knows?
Well, he started by saying there's a good chance you'd go to Live, and then at the end it was 10%. So is there a percentage that
somewhere in the middle, maybe? Who knows?
Tom, can you give it to Alan Shipnuck, please?
Chubby Chandler. I just Googled that guy.
Yeah.
Lives up to the name.
Tough. That's a tough.
That's tough, but that's. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that's a tough look. I guess he was the former agent of Rory McIlroy, and he said that there's a chance Rory might go. I would say there's a 0%
I don't think
chance.
Rory is in a spot where he is. Hey, listen, if they offer a bag that he thinks is absurdly ridiculous and he knows they're getting ready to merge anyways and it's not going to affect him in any manner, then maybe he'll take it. But ultimately, Rory is kind of pretty set in stone where he stands with all this, and I think he's just having a lighthearted situation there, and I wouldn't read too much into that. And at the end of it all, like you've said before, if these guys are going to be able to play in majors, Rory's going to get to play in all these majors without question, based off of invite. And on top of that, if he were to leave, that's probably one of the more iconic PGA Tour folks that would be left. And I would venture to say at that point, Liv would have won the battle, and they would have come to some kind of agreement. So Rory holds some keys there if he wants to try to make that jump and make some money. But at the end of it all, like I said before, the vast majority of people that watch golf, they care about 4 tournaments. 5 if you want to include the Ryder Cup.
Yep.
There's really not that many. The vast majority of people, to be honest with you, the overwhelmingly vast majority of people that are casuals are going to watch maybe Augusta, maybe the Masters, and maybe the U.S. Open. And if they're eating cereal and they accidentally turn on ESPN on a lovely morning in the middle of the summer, then maybe they'll run into the British Open. the Open Championship if I want to properly see it. But outside of that, I don't think many people that aren't casuals of the game of golf really care about any of this. So Blake Snell had some comments.
Yes, he did. So, well, I don't know if he really even had comments. More of basically some news came out. And Casey, I sent you a graphic, if that's okay, as well, regarding Blake Snell. But basically, Blake Snell turned out a massive deal for the Yankees. It was obviously we know who his agent is, and this deal wasn't good enough. But it's one of those things where he's willing to do a Cody Bellinger type of deal, a small, short contract, 1 to 2 year deal for a lot of money. And it comes down to whether or not a team like the Cincinnati Reds can go out and get this guy. I don't think there's a world where the Reds are going to spend I don't know what the number would be, $35 million for a 1 year deal. I don't think there's a scenario where we do that. If they were to do it though, I think Blake Snell would be worth it. I actually think you get your money's worth for Blake Snell, and not to mention it's not a 10-year deal, so
correct.
If it's the smarter deal if you're going to pay something.
If you're
like
a small
this.
franchise, it's without question the only way in which you can go out and get a big-time free agent, more or less, more likely, is on a 1 year deal, where you realize that you don't hamstring your organization for a decade because you went out on a limb, and then it turns out that this guy doesn't ultimately end up panning out, and you're left on the hook owing 80, 90, $100 million of something that ultimately you get no production out of, and then therefore you're hamstrung in a weird way, right? The smaller franchises have a salary cap, and their salary cap is essentially the affordability or what the revenue is of their franchise. Some, as we've come to know, don't seem to have that at all, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well. To be honest, I mean, you sign a guy for $1 billion in Shohei Ohtani, I just have a hard time believing at some point there's not a ceiling there. And it certainly feels like there isn't one with the Dodgers. I'm not going to sit here and act like there is, because they continue to sign guys. And they not only when they signed Ohtani, then they went out and they obviously got the other, and I butcher the
I'm not going to try to pronounce
the kid's name. That's obviously the foreign arm that came over. But at this very moment, if you're the Reds, Blake Snell is probably not going to be an option or an opportunity to get, because I don't know if he would want to come play in Cincinnati on a 1 year deal. And that's the other thing too, is like at some point too, I do think that stigma of pitching in a small park goes away, because you're gonna have enough metrics out there, enough data, TrackMan data, FanGraph type stuff, that are going to be able to tell whether or not you still are throwing the ball well, and maybe you gave up an extra so many home runs, or maybe you gave up this, but based off of these stats, we know that if you put him in this park, he would still be elite type thing, right? So I don't really buy into the notion, as much as others do, that you can't go out and find a guy on a 1 year opportunity, and Frankie Montas did that. But I know Frankie Montas and Blake Snell are in two different worlds. I'm not suggesting they are, or they're one of the same. They're not. But the whole notion that you can't get as a guy to come to Great American Ballpark anymore, I think if it's not already done, it's going to be done relatively soon.
And I think too, and this is no knock on players. It's the way the game has evolved. It's the way all sports have evolved. It's really become about the money. It's all about the money. And and this is I'm sure these guys want to win. I'm sure they want to be in a place where winning is possible.
Yep.
But I also think they want to be in a place that's fun to live in, and B, they want to get paid a lot of money. Like, those are points 1 and 2. The winning part, I think, for guys, and again, this is no knock on somebody like Blake Snell, but it seems if he hasn't signed yet, it's only about money. He is in this business to make money, and that's it. And maybe that's the Scott Boras way. And I know the Reds have a couple of Scott Boras clients on our team, but I just think if you're unable to have a team by what day is it? It's March. I mean, it's Leap Day on February 29th. But we're in March.
Don't be disrespectful to Leap Day.
I'm not disrespecting.
You're being very disrespectful to Leap Day. This thing comes around once every 4 years, if my education served me right, which today you probably realize it might not have. But you are being incredibly disrespectful to the 29th of February by calling it March.
Leap Day.
Do you realize that they
joke.
work hard?
Leap Day's a joke.
This day work so damn hard to be a part of society that it only comes around once every 4 years. That's how hard it has to work to come around.
This day's a joke.
And you are sitting here being incredibly disrespectful to
Leap
it.
day's a joke.
You're a joke.
No, I'm not a joke. And now I've lost my train of thought with what I was saying.
Because you got a mush. You got nothing but pudding for a brain over there.
No, but to round out my point, my closing argument, if it's only about the money, I agree with you. I think guys will come to play in Cincinnati. If you're going to pay top dollar, then you'll surely come. I just hope and I pray that the Cubs don't get him. I hope and I pray that the Dodgers don't get him, because I can't. You know what? If the Dodgers get him, honestly, I don't care anymore. I guess I'm all the way out on that, because the Dodgers have bought and they've paid their way to one World Series in the past 10 years. So it's fine. It's whatever. The Dodgers go out and they can make a super team. They can just be the National League All-Stars every single game. I still don't think the Dodgers are going to win a World Series. Still don't believe it's going to happen this year. So that's fine.
Did Boris jump the shark here a little bit? It kind of feels like not that it's going to ultimately end up burning and Boris is going to be looked at as a fraud or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that he's already kind of cemented his legacy. He's already been a guy that's done incredible things for the player. So I don't believe that there's going to be people that are going to look down upon Boris here. But it does feel like he's dug his heels in here. And we're getting closer and closer and closer to this edge that you're going to fall off of here, to where you kind of start to realize where these owners or the teams themselves are like, yeah, let's who cares at this point? Let's just see how far this goes. Let's see how low we can get this to fall before we sign somebody. And sure enough, all it takes is a little bit of fear that someone else is going to take Snell and you actually want him for that to probably end. But it does seem like the owners / teams are winning. They're winning. Yeah. They're beating Boris for the first time in a long time. And if you're a Boris client now moving forward, I'm not saying you need to be worried about it, but it definitely seems like it's something that be careful what you ask for, because I do agree with you. Some players on the back end of their career, I think it can go both ways. They can be starved for their entire career to not get an opportunity to win. And they've been decent or a good player. And in order to have any kind of sustainability in professional sports, you have to be pretty damn good, right? But so if you've been around the league for quite some time and you have not won a significant amount, I do think you could find yourself in a position where you're like, you know what, you're ring chasing, if you want to call it that, and you're willing to take a lesser of a deal. But that's more or less likely because if you've earned a significant amount of money over time. Some of these guys have come to realize, or they do realize, in the middle of their playing career, that it's 100% a business. And on top of that, their earning potential for the rest of their life is never going to be even remotely the same. Ever even remotely the same. So Blake Snell's looking at this and thinking to himself, you know, that extra $10 million that we're talking about on this deal isn't really a significant amount in regards to the grand scheme of things one way or the other. But it's a significant amount to me personally. Because, and I get it, if you're making hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of your life, some people are going to be like, well, you know, what's $10 million at the end of the day anyways?
I certainly think that, yeah.
But here's the crazy thing about all this is that, you know, money is a very powerful thing in our lives. It controls a lot of decisions we all make. It's certainly, to a certain extent, it's what makes the world operate. We all understand that. And you've heard the cliches terms that money makes the world go around. But my point to all of this is that I can kind of get to where it's like, okay, hold out for money, hold out for money, hold out for money. But then the opposite at some point has to come in, that you're going to die. And you're more or less, you're not going to spend it all. And if you're super worried about your grandkids and your great-grandkids and their great-great-grandkids and all that, maybe you do care about the extra 10 or extra $20 million here or there. But the vast majority of these guys, if they're relatively intelligent at all, they can live the rest of their lives no problem at all and never have to worry about money again. Never. So then you get back to the point of, okay, well, if that's the case, then what would I rather have in my life? Would I rather have 10 extra $1 million, or would I rather go somewhere where I'm actually going to enjoy my life while I'm here, which is a very small amount of time, and I have a chance to make memories that I'll cherish for the rest of my life? That's a very rock in a hard place type idea or situation you can find yourself in. Now, no one's going to feel sorry for these guys because they're making millions and millions and millions of dollars. But you can't convince me. You can't convince me that somebody that has even a semblance of a persuasive type of attitude. If I was a general manager of a team like the Reds, that would be the goal. If I was talking to Blake Snell, would be like, yeah, listen, I get it, I understand the money thing, but at the same time, wouldn't it be nice to bring a city a championship that was the first professional franchise in history? And on top of that, we've been starving around here forever. We're dying for a championship. Mm-hmm. If you want to go play in LA, go ahead. They're not going to give it. Well, I'm going to try to be, but they're not going to care. They don't care. Now, yes, they have a good fan base, but it's not going to be because you're not going to be cherished and loved and beloved. If you come to Cincinnati and you do it, by all accounts, you'll be a king. So I'm not suggesting that would work. But I would give it hell. I'd give it a shot. I try to remind these people that they're going to die, not going to spend all this money.
I just don't understand. He turned down a 6-year, $168 million deal with the Yankees in January. 6 years, $168 million. That's $28 million a year. That's not good enough.
Is there a chance he doesn't want to be stuck somewhere that he might not want to be? That's another opportunity. That's another thought.
Could be. It could be.
But opt-outs anymore, it seems like players get these opt-outs. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's the craziest part about sports contracts in the last few years that I've come to just be like, how in the world do these guys get away with this?
Yeah, I don't.
Wes Miller is a perfect example.
We saw that yesterday.
Wes Miller is a perfect example. I mean, just in general, though, that happens for all of these contracts. Very rarely does the organization or the team, whatever you want to call it, do they have the ability to opt out, but the player and the coach have the ability to opt out. It's like, why is that such a just foregone, let's not worry about it type thing? If Cody Bellinger is allowed to opt out after the first year and he has an MVP season, then if I'm the Cubs, I'm like, well, I want to be able to opt out too.
100%.
If you're terrible, we should be able to opt out. We both have an opt-out clause. Then at that point, then what's the point of having a contract? Because what are the chances of you actually agreeing perfectly on the terms for ongoing? Which is probably the main question I eventually want to ask that to somebody that's either an agent or a general manager / owner. It's like, what's the point of two options? Because what are the chances that both of you actually agree on the exact same terms for the next year?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to opt out.
And it's trickled down to college too, the opt out side of things. And you look at the NIL, and now everybody's going to get mad at kids for transferring, wanting different situations. It's the way sports has gone, and it stinks. College coaches, it starts with college coaches too. I saw this on the Mothership, I believe. I think in 2019 there were 20 new head coaches hired in college football, and I think 2 of them remain at that college today, at the college they signed with. And it's just I don't want to say it's a lack of stability, or I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but clearly it's about fast and it's about right now. It's not about the long-term future anymore. It's about what can I get for myself immediately. And that's unfortunately the way it's gone, and maybe that's the way it's always been. I don't know.
Most of these decision makers and athletic directors, in my opinion, are maybe the world's worst negotiators, or they get so engulfed in the idea or the concept of them wanting this one single person. Still on?
Yeah, we're still on.
Still on.
Still on.
Elliot Rearings, he's just out here. You're trying to ship You're trying to just sink
so.
every ship there is known to man.
I think there was unanimous issues in the chat.
No, we're still on.
Yeah, it does look like that, Casey. Does look like that. My favorite thing, though, here sometimes is this. We've had this a few times. It is a tough spot if you're in Casey over there, because if you have some internet issues, you don't want to break people's train of thought. You are still recording, so I guess you could have it for podcast reasons. But sometimes, what do you think we should do here? If let's set the precedent now.
Sure.
Let's just say the internet goes out now.
Right now.
What happens? How long do you think it goes before Casey actually says that we're off air and we're just talking to ourselves? How long do you think that goes?
15 minutes.
No.
How long would it go? Casey, how long
minutes?
do you think it should go?
I mean, we were down for maybe like all of 30 seconds.
That's fair. No.
don't know what
There's
you
nothing
guys-
wrong. Look like he's getting all defensive.
Don't
I'm
get all
asking a
defensive.
simple question. Casey, I'm asking a simple question. The question is, how long would it go before you tell us? That's all. It's not a big deal. This is your personal
no.
opinion. Can I do the teacher thing right now?
Please,
There's
please.
I'll do the teacher thing right now. There's not a wrong answer here, Casey. And there's never a dumb question. So what's the answer?
I don't know, like 2 minutes. Because at that point, it's like there is you guys on that side do not see what I see. I can see when it's struggling, and I can see when it's like down. I could tell that it was just struggling. I've done this long enough to know that it was just trying to get to the internet, but was struggling.
You guys are professional. I mean, we're dealing with professionals.
When it's down, and I'll be like, okay, yeah.
Down. Something like that. Okay, useless things. So we walked in today and we were like, all right, what should we talk about? What are some things that we can do? Casey said, we should do a mock draft. I said, all right, let's talk about useless things. There's nothing more useless, in my opinion, than a bunch of, and listen, and when I say this, of course. What do you say? You say it with all due respect.
All due respect.
I say
love
with
and
this,
respect.
I say this with love, with respect, with all due respect. But there is, and I mean, I've come up with a list. You've come up with a list. We'll have a discussion of the most useless things that we do as humans. And as I speak on this, my OCD, if I have a little bit of that, I don't know if I do. ADD, I have a lot of different problems. But let's put the ticker on useless things. So of all the useless things that we do, I have a top 5 list. Maybe the biggest useless thing that we do in sports society for sure is make mock drafts. I've never seen anybody even be remotely close to their PFF mock draft that they put out 2 months in advance of the draft is when there actually is a draft. Now, I get it. It's fun. Maybe you could convince me it's similar to doing March Madness brackets, right? But at least the March Madness brackets, there's like a list of games that are guaranteed to happen. And then from there, you're just forecasting who wins. In the NFL, you have absolutely zero clue who teams are picking.
Yep.
And you have zero clue who's available to you. So it's legitimately just it's a fun fest. Can we at least agree on that?
100%.
It's a 100% fun fest.
It's
There's
just
no real merit to this.
No merit whatsoever.
Now, we're doing this right in the face of a guy that likes mock drafts.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're being a little disrespectful, but you're, of course, allowed to rebuttal, Casey. We're not trying to hear and jump and stomp on your parade. But please convince me, if you want to try, why every mock draft isn't completely worthless.
I mean, they are completely worthless.
Hell yeah.
but it's not really it's more of a way to engage with fans to get an idea of what we're all thinking. What should we be looking for as the Bengals? What prospects maybe you haven't checked out yet? Things of that nature. It helps me kind of guide like where at least a guy maybe should fall at, right? And then you go do your own research, and then you determine like DeJuan Jones is probably a first-round pick, and the NFL thinks otherwise. So I mean, it's just fun, right? It's not anything. There's no legitimacy to it. There's nothing that's gonna be like, the Bengals are gonna look at your mock draft and go, oh yeah, I gotta look at so and so's mock draft to see what we should do. It's not what really happens. It's more just for fan engagement and
But there are people who get paid to do it at the mothership who are very serious.
Who are supposed to be like professional experts, and
they are to a certain extent.
Yeah, they are to a certain extent. I do think that it's impossible to get.
The only thing they look for is money. Yet we spend what? It's probably decent money, $3, $4, $5, $6. Instead of doing that, why not just put it in an envelope with like the extra $6 in there with a note that says, the extra $6, I know it's weird that I gave you $26, but the extra $6 was from the money that I saved from the cart. The kid would 100% like that better.
100%.
Why doesn't that become a societal norm?
Birthday cards are a waste of everybody's time. They've always been that. They always will be that.
I don't know about like some older adults. They might find that sentimental.
Why don't you write them a letter? Like you can write them a letter.
Okay.
Like a card is a nothing burger.
I'm not going to argue that.
That's
I was the one that
it's on
said
the
that
list.
cards are useless. I was meaning it was useless for kids specifically, but you're now taking it. You're taking the whole entire card industry on it as a whole. Are you ready to fight that fight?
I'm ready to fight the fight. I
right.
think there's never been a card that's been worth buying ever.
Right.
And I think what they get you is the envelope fees, because those are terrible too. Why am I buying the envelope? I just want the card. Terrible. I'm out. Your next one? Are we on Rumble today?
I don't know
Been
what
on Rumble.
we're on.
I have not stopped streaming to Rumble
Hell
since
yeah,
that day
Casey.
that Trace told me to start streaming on Rumble.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wait, we've been on Rumble this entire time?
Yes.
Yes, and
we
on
get,
top
we
of
get
that,
some viewership too on there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I literally haven't checked. What are our numbers on Rumble?
10. Probably. But hey, there's 10 people watching. Like,
I love how you think that's so funny.
Good on Rumble.
Can you give me one of your top 5 useless things?
Yeah.
Your terrible list, please.
Oh, I thought you were doing your whole list.
I said we'll go one for one, but you
Okay.
weren't listening per usual.
Well, okay. All right. I was getting concerned with the
we have
internet
22
issues.
followers on Rumble.
22? Really?
Can we stop slandering Rumble, please?
Donald? Is Donald on there? Is he following us? Okay. So number one, my most useless thing in life, recycling. I already did this bit earlier this week, but I'm going to do it again because we're doing it again. Recycling, there has never, ever been a bigger waste of your time, the world's time, than putting your garbage into separate bins. Put it all in the same bin. It's going to the same place. They're going to do the same thing. Nothing matters. Don't recycle.
Again.
Don't do it.
All right.
My dad will recycle nonstop. And I tell him, Dad, please, your recycling's wasting all of our time. Why are you ripping up these cardboard boxes and putting it into recycling? It's just going to go to the dump. And he says, Elliot, please don't yell at me. I'm just trying to save the earth. And I say, Dad, you're not. I hate to tell you this. You're not saving the earth. Every time you drive a car, it hurts the earth.
Isn't that kind of funny how we as humans think we're going to save the earth?
Yeah, you're not
Like, it's
saving
kind
the
of
earth.
funny. Hey, can we just like take a second and think about this for just a half a second? You know, of course we won't get too crazy into the weeds on this, but just we as humans sometimes, like I said before, we think that we can just solve a lot of things that I'm not sure that we think we can actually solve. We actually think that we can save this planet. Like, we as humans are going to save it. We're not really saving anything. If anything, we're trying to save ourselves. Can we at least agree on that? We're
agree.
being selfish. We're being selfish. That's what we're doing. We're trying to make sure that this rock that we live on, that we float around on together as one, we all try to love each other as best we can on here. We're really not worried about the rock as much as we're worried about the way in which that rock allows us to live on it.
Yeah, listen, Nate says it in the chat. I once saw the Rumpke guys at UD put the dumpster trash and the recycling trash into the same truck. This is what they do. This happens. And Everett is pro-garbage, and he's saying Elliot leaves his can open, it rains, and cries when the wet cardboard cannot be recycled. I don't do that. I do not cry about my garbage. I don't do it. But recycling, that is my number one on my top 5 list.
I don't have a number one.
Of
Mine
most
are
useless.
kind
That's
of
my
whatever.
number one.
I say the second thing is spamming the walk button on crosswalks.
That's a great one.
You ever seen anybody
That's a
do
great
that?
one.
You ever seen one tell me like they hit the button and they stand there and look at the light and they're like, okay, I'm gonna have to hit it again, and they literally just get there and they hit it like 900 times, and then it finally hits walk, and I think in their brain they think that the last time they hit it was the difference. It's like, no, it's just on a timing cycle. The way this works is you hit it, and it registers. Oh, there's somebody here. We need to put a walk sign up. The next time, we decide to stop traffic in this direction. I don't know why. And you know what? While I'm on it, elevators are the same way. Like, you can hit the close button as fast and as much as you want.
Great.
But let's be honest. It's going to close when it wants to close. It's not going to, like, close faster because you hit the button 9 times.
I don't know about that.
Sounds like we got a guy over here that believes in this.
I do believe in the elevator one, because you can at least at hospitals you can actually like hold the door and it goes quickly.
I don't
They
think
have to
so.
do- they have
I
to
don't
do
think
that for
the closed door button on an elevator has never worked for me ever.
They have to do that for emergencies.
Well, it's never worked for me.
It
It's
works
never,
in a hospital.
It doesn't work here in our elevators.
Well, no.
Well, let's find out
Ours are
let's
terrible
find out what the
elevators.
chat thinks. Let's find out what the chat thinks. Which
Chat
we
poll
can make it
question.
elevator / we'll make it elevator because I think crosswalk we
Well,
can
the
all agree.
crosswalk things, I have a take on the crosswalk thing. So
Okay.
some of them have it's a little, it's like everybody's seen it. It's a little metal thing, and then there's a little red circle in there, and you touch it. There is something soothing about hitting that. There is something soothing
That's
about
what I was going to initially do.
putting your finger on the sensor and hearing the little beep. I can't explain what it is, but when I put my finger on the red little sensor on those things, I feel like a superhero. Like, that's just what it makes me feel like. So that could be the reason why everybody's doing it. Now, some people are psychos, like they'll just hit it just to hit it and annoy everybody. But I think a lot of it is it makes you feel good about yourself when you do it. Something fun to do.
Do they make medicine for that?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do have medicine for that. My number 2, painting. If you're gonna go out, if you're gonna go out there and paint, you're wasting your time. I don't think anybody's ever liked a painting. I've never gone out and bought a painting. I think those artists out there that sell their like drawing of a sun on a beautiful field, and they sell that for $4,000. So I think all painting. I'm out on the big paint industry. I think it's a waste of everybody's time. No more painting.
So you're anti-artist right now.
No, I'm not anti-artist. I'm anti either drawing paint and then selling it for more money than it's clearly worth, or
it's worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it. Let's not forget that.
Well,
I know I just put your brain in a pretzel over there.
Well, no, you did a little bit, but that's okay. I don't think it's worth it. I don't paint. No paint. I'm out on big paint. Yeah, Casey?
Why?
I just told you why. I'm not going to explain it again for these people. This is a serious sports talk show.
Of the worth of it, of what someone's willing to pay for it. That's why you're out on it.
Correct. I don't think they should. I don't think you should be.
for it.
I don't think you should be selling it for that much. That's what I'm saying.
But
I just don't understand that take. I don't know why the art community ever. What did they ever do to you?
Yeah,
Are you just? Are you? It seems like there's some jealousy here from Elliot. It seems as if he looks at this painting, he doesn't see the beauty in it, and then he sees that people sell it for whatever they sell it for, and then he's upset that they're able to get as much money for it as they actually do. So that seems like an internal issue. More than a useless thing in society, but we'll move on.
Okay.
Another one that I think is useless. You're just wasting your time. Is like buying photos at amusement parks. So when you walk off the ride and they have all the photos.
Yeah. This is a good one.
It doesn't mean that I think that that you aren't trying to be a good person in buying it. It's just that how many people actually buy that and it doesn't end up just sitting in a cupboard somewhere and it never comes out. That's more or less my point. It seems like a useless photo. You don't really, maybe I'm wrong, but I never been over to someone's house and I looked on the walls and I'm like, oh, look, there it is. It's Johnny and Joe. They're on the Beast. I've never seen that. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen anybody's photo on a roller coaster ride that you didn't just initially buy right then and there?
No.
There's my point.
You're right. That's nonsensical. And also a pro move is you just pull out your phone and then just take a picture of it while it's on the
I think they've caught on to that because the last time I looked at when I was walking by the booth and I just glanced to the right, I didn't stop and look at the photos. But I did see, I don't know how people even can see what ride they're on because the watermark that is on these pictures is so horrific. How could you even see the photo in and of itself? So clearly that somebody caught on to that. And they're like, we need to put watermarks on these things fast. And they did do that, LOL.
Okay, so what about like other parks like the zoo? Is it worth getting photos at the zoo?
Well, that's a different thing.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
like they have taking your own photos?
They do you can do the same thing. Like I've had to do the same thing. You can take a picture with an animal and they'll put watermarks on it. You at least got to experience the animal itself, but you don't actually get the photos until you pay for those photos.
Yeah, but you can just bring your own camera to that. I don't understand that one.
Well, you can bring your own
camera.
camera.
I want a picture of the tiger. I'll take a picture of the tiger.
The phone feels like the way in which most people should go about trying to get a photo if they want it. Now, if you're okay, my point is this: let's say you get a photo with a tiger.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I again have never been over to someone's house and seen, oh, look, there's Johnny with the photo of the tiger at the Cincinnati Zoo. That thing is just sitting in a closet, Casey. Am I wrong about that?
Seems like he's right.
Seems like I might go over to Casey's house and he's going to have a damn photo of a tiger with him at the zoo in the middle of his dining room.
Some say I got a photo of me and a couple tigers hanging up somewhere in my living room.
Yeah, some are saying that. My third on my list of most useless things is washing your car. Washing your car is pointless. I don't understand why people do it so oftenly or so frequently, because it literally just gets dirty as you drive away from the car wash. I worked at Mike's Car Wash. I was a car wash professional, and literally as the second you leave the little tunnle where we wash your car is instantly dirty. So why are you paying $20 for it?
Hand washing is legitimately the peak wasting your time. Just go to if you're gonna wash your car.
That's
at least
true
go
too.
To
Like if you're gonna waste your time washing it, like you spend an hour washing it, go to Mike's Car Wash, do it for 3 minutes, and then have it get dirty immediately. Otherwise, you work an hour and then have it get dirty immediately.
I couldn't disagree with this take more.
If it rains the next day, the whole wash is ruined. If it rains the next day, it's ruined.
And how much does a car wash cost?
$13, I believe, is now it's inflation. This is some Biden's America, but this is $13, I believe, at Mike's Car Wash now.
I mean, that's just
Couple members here that we have.
Yeah, you can read that one.
Justin, 5.
Go ahead and read that one.
Go ahead, Trace.
I'm not reading that one. You can read it.
Go ahead, Trace.
I'm not reading that one.
I don't have the ability to put up member chats. Only super chats. It's kind of sad. You want to read that, Trace?
How are we supposed to read that? I do feel like that's a you know what? He's been a member. Justin's been a member for 5 months.
I don't know how you read it. I mean, you're in a pickle here because this is somebody who's a member, a paying member, a supporter of Chatterbox.
Yes, and I feel
and
like
they typed it out.
I feel like they did this and they want us to read it. 5 golden
baths.
And
That's not
it's not really. It's not,
That's not any better.
5 golden. I think we should have used. I don't. This is tough. We're being honest. 5 golden showers is what he says. Of course, these aren't my words. These are Justin's. 4 calling girls. 3 French
hens.
WH.
No, just put hens.
WH something. I can't really figure out the rest. Thanks, Trace, Reed, Elliott, and
Arn.
What?
I think Casey looks
Arn
like
Anderson.
Casey looks like
Okay.
Arn Anderson.
Mr. Mo, #1 Chatterbox, chatter, and Locked On Reds hater. That's his words, not mine, to be very, very clear. He's been a member for 5 whole months. He's a nut cutter. And he says, Elliott seems like the type of person to look at a kid's painting and just walk over and kick it while yelling, this painting is worth nothing. So,
True.
it's a tough look on
Elliott,
you.
Elliott,
You are anti.
You agree with my car wash take? Because car washing is.
No, I don't agree with the car wash take. I think it's a terrible take. I think if you're trying to take care of your car and you have a car, again, I understand the concept of a car that maybe you would deem as not worth, keeping clean. Like, you want to make sure that the paint on it is. If the paint's already gone, you realize when you wash your car, you're trying to help.
Yep.
You're trying to help make sure there's not rust or salt on your car or dirt that eventually sits there too long and it kind of erodes the paint. Those are the types of things people wash their cars for mostly. If it's just strictly an aesthetic thing, I could understand that, but you don't think that salt underneath your car needs to get rinsed off?
Yeah, there's certain car washes that you have to do, like it's maintenance. But some people will go out like in the summertime and get a car wash, and then it rains an hour later, and it's like you just wasted all your money or your time.
I guess what Trace is trying to say is there's a difference between a 2003 Chevy Impala and a brand new Escalade. Maybe.
I wasn't gonna. No. Now that Casey, that was funny though. That was good.
All right,
And behind every joke's a little bit of the truth.
your next one.
My next one is writing letters to the editor. I think people actually think that the editor cares, and I'm here to say the editor could care less. If we're being completely honest, there's people that take time out of their day and they want to write something to somebody, and the truth is that they could care less. But I think they actually care. Do you think that when you write a letter into an editor of a major newspaper, they care?
I know they don't care. In fact, I would doubt anytime you write that, I doubt they even get it.
Exactly.
So it's
What
that
a waste
you are
of
right.
time that is.
That's a waste of time. Going to college. That's number 4 on my list. Waste of your time. Unless you're going to be a doctor, a pharmacist, or anything in the medical field, I guess maybe engineering, you can put in that as well. College is a waste of everybody's time. So don't go. save your money. What am I, $40,000 in the hole for a degree that I literally haven't used once. So
It's tough. I think a lot of people in our organization, by our organization, I mean Chatterbox Sports, have not really used their degrees a whole lot. Maybe Reed has. You could say Reed has.
Reed has a little bit.
You could say Casey kind of has. But if we're being honest, and you ask Casey point blank right now, hey, did you learn anything that you really need to know in college, or did you have to figure it out just by using critical thinking skills and looking things up on the internet? Most of it, I think, is the latter, which maybe you could argue college is to try to sharpen your critical thinking skills. That's the angle that they're going to take.
Everett asked, would Chatterbox have hired me if I didn't have a degree? My degree literally never was mentioned in the interview.
Yeah, we never asked for it, did we?
No, in fact, literally, when you
I think
work,
it's because we didn't think you had one.
when you work in this field, it's all about experience. That's it. It's one thing, and it's experience.
And what experience did you bring?
What do you mean? You don't think I had experience in this? I worked at 700 WLW. Come on, give me listen. You can slander Elliot a lot of ways, but I did work at that radio station. I think that's some experience in media. No, that doesn't count as experience in media.
What did you bring? What did you do there that made you so equipped to do what you do here?
I don't know, but it clearly worked. I don't know, but we can bring Reed on in here and we can do the whole bit again of why I got hired. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I didn't work there, I would not have gotten hired. That's a fact.
I didn't even know that you worked there.
I did.
You know what? You know the truth as to why you got hired.
Reed, but went to bat for me.
Yeah, he walked up to me and said, Elliot is hilarious. I think he could help us out." And I said, "Okay, if you like him, that's it."
So Reed saved me. I owe Reed my salary. That's it.
Pretty much. Reed got you the job, fair and square.
Your last one?
I didn't even really. Well, we never even met. Never even talked to you.
I met you before. I met you with the iPads.
You think that's what got you hired?
Yeah, sure. I met you with the iPads.
Come on.
AJ Worst says, Zebra, I say this with love and respect. Don't ever undermine your degree from the University of Cincinnati. We are more educated than 99% of these buffoons. Fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Brian B, 700 WLW can be heard in all 50 states. Somehow you can't even pick it up in Ohio.
I think that's at night. Like in
That's
the
at
middle
night.
of the night when nobody else is on the airwaves. That's how
Correct.
you pick it up.
Super chats, Casey. I don't know which one. I'm losing track of these super chats now. We got too many comments coming in, which is very good for us.
Start firing away.
Big C, $4.99. Elliot is really saying he's got several bird doo-doos on his car and doesn't want to clean it. Again, I don't think you need to clean it because the natural rainfall will get that off, unless it's like some serious poo. But if a bird takes a doo-doo on your car, it naturally will come off eventually. Nothing matters.
That's Sir Boy. That's Sir Boy.
Why is it nothing matters?
I don't know. We're gonna to pump Sir Boy up. I'm gonna give Sir Boy a motivational speech right after this.
$1.99. I know it's useless. The city of Mason Cubs fans.
That's possible.
That's fair.
That's possible. Hey man, yeah. Sir Boy, a very, very proud OG of this program and franchise that we call Chatterbox Sports. Everything matters. Everything matters. Some things don't matter as much as others, but everything matters to a certain extent.
Sure.
Slightly. Sir Boy.
Do you have one more, by the way?
Sir Boy has such a privileged name that I hope he changes his name back.
I agree. Do you want more?
No, I already used mock draft. That was my fifth one.
Okay, because
but
I got one more.
Your last one.
Gambling. Don't gamble. Wasting your time.
This is what you do. You have the world's worst list. I said the 5 most useless things that we do as humans, and you've brought up things that are actually worthwhile. You're degrading. Gambling is very entertaining.
Hasn't worked for me. Hasn't been worthwhile for me.
Okay, well let's talk about why then. It can be very entertaining if you do it responsibly, of course. If you have a problem, you call 1-800-GAMBLER. We talked about this. You have to be 21 plus in Ohio. But gambling is something in which most people that are not, maybe privy to understanding it would just automatically assume it's horrible. But I think if it's taken out of context or somebody doesn't do it responsibly, it can be horrible. Yes. Like almost everything else in the world. You could argue that working too much is a terrible thing. You could argue being at home doing nothing is a terrible thing. You could argue playing golf literally every day of your life and you become addicted to it is a bad thing. Is there anything in the world that you could argue that if you just literally did obsessively all the time wouldn't be bad?
I don't know. I think it's worthless. Bad.
It's worthless when you don't have a plan, but it is profitable.
Yep.
I've legitimately, I say this, like, I'm not to jinx myself here, but I've not ever, the last 5 years of gambling, or how many ever years it's been legal in Ohio, to be fair, I've never lost money. But I treat it like it's not fun. It's not fun though. That's the part. It's not fun. I don't even watch the games. I just look at the numbers, make a bet, know that if that bet loses, then you get
like
back on the
Moneyball.
horse.
It's just like Moneyball.
100%. It's not really enjoyable. You know, Moneyball, I was thinking the other day, it's a little bit of a joke. The more I think about Moneyball, what a joke. They don't mention Tejada. They don't mention any of the three studs. They had the Cy Young and the MVP on the team. They didn't mention either one of those guys. They wanted to act like Scott Hatteberg was going to win them the World Series, when in reality it had nothing to do with, I mean, nothing is a strong word, but very little to do with it.
Everything matters.
And also, let's not forget, you know, they didn't even win at all.
That's fair. And again, we'll get into more some baseball talk here in a second. We're going to do some ad reads.
It's a good movie, though. It's a good movie.
We're going to do some ad reads right now, and then we're going to get into some Reds talk, and we're going to do some Bengals mock draft. That's what we're going to do. It's been a silly show, but we're going to try to round it out with some serious Cincinnati sports discussion on this very serious Cincinnati sports talk show.
If we do a mock draft, I'm going to make a mockery of it.
Okay, well, that's what we'll try to do.
All right. We have to pay the bills around here, and when we do that, we only send it to one person and one person only, because he is the best in the business. Some say he is the king of ad reads. We do have some more ad reads on the way. Just signed the dotted line on something that I'm excited about. I'm gonna need your guys' help, because they think, and I say they're willing to do the deal with us. But I got to be honest, they're a larger organization, and I think that I genuinely mean this. They said we are the smallest, and we are small, so I'm not going to act like we're not small. We are a smaller organization as compared to other big behemoths that they do advertising with. But we are the smallest organization that they've done a deal with. Now, it's a short-term deal, so it's a prove-it deal. We're doing a 1-year prove-it deal here at Chatterbox
right.
Sports. But we do have that ad read next week. And they're going to give us a code, and then that's how they're going to figure out if we're actually worth it or not. And I think Nutcutter Nation's going to come out in full force and support us. That's what I hope.
That's what I hope, too.
But that's next week. But for this week, Casey, who helps pay the bills around here, and we love them for that. Take it away.
Yeah. The Future Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with the suite of services from mobile computing, desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
productivity.
The path to innovation begins here. Visit encore.tech. Let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI-water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Get your coffee from UDF, drink lots of Pawnee Water, and get your technology solutions from Encore.tech. And before we go any further, programming notes. We have box lunch later, right?
No.
No? We're not.
Isn't today Thursday?
Is it Thursday?
Yeah.
Man, yesterday was hump day. Whew.
We have it tomorrow, and then we have Tom.
tomorrow.
We have a Tom Big interview tomorrow, and then we have Kirby, I believe, released the Chatterbox Reds this morning. Go check out Chatterbox Reds podcast in podcast form. What was that?
Just keep going.
Oh, I was gonna say
when you're done, I got something to say.
I was gonna say, please like, please comment, please subscribe if you're watching this and you haven't yet. It would help. I'm just hoping, and I'm counting down the days till we can get to the Reds season, because I'm running out of things to talk about. I'm trying my best to put on a brave face. But if we're going to be honest, I can only talk about hypothetical situations for so long. I need something real. I need something. I thought Xavier and UC were going to get me there. They died. They died real quick. They fell off the face of the earth, and now I got nothing. We got 0% chance of tournament teams in this city. Dayton, I guess we can start learning about Dayton. I have to learn about Dayton. That's what it's going to come down to. I have to learn about the Dayton basketball team. But the Red season starts in a month. We are going to be really good right then. But hang with us. We're going to have some fun. We're going to make this show silly. On Monday night, Trace, myself, Kirby, a videographer, we're heading across the country. If you didn't know this, I'm going to say it again because, again, I think this is wild. We are driving across the country in a van with Chatterbox Sports painted on it. Shout out to painters. They painted it, and it looks good. Going across the country in a van and trying to make pretty much it's essentially what it's going to be now. It's a Red spring training trip, but along the way there is going to be some misadventures with the guys in the van. So stay tuned for that. We also have Miami baseball. If you're not familiar with Miami baseball, that is the university closer to Hamilton. I think it's farther away than I actually thought. But again, Miami baseball is going to start up here real soon on ChatterboxSports.com. Which one is it? Watch Seabox Sports.
Yep.
It's on Watch Seabox Sports. So if you like college baseball, it's a better broadcast than ESPN Plus. I promise you that. We'll have Reed Mouse on the call. And I don't know if they're going to play anybody big yet this early in the season, but surely they will once we get into the conference play. So tune in, watch that, watch Seabox Sports. That'll be very fun. We do have some super chats, so let's do that. My twin sister, Mandy, is an editor. Most letters she gets are about the subjects of the crosswords or how they are too complicated. Well, that's fair. We also have one from Sir Boy. Bring back the old commercials. Are we going to bring back the old commercials?
No. Sorry.
Why not?
Because they waste our time. Anyways, do you have anything else to say?
Am I missing any plugs? We have Chatterbox Bearcats still, God willing. Just watch for Chuck and Houdini. Don't watch because of the Bearcats. Just watch because of those two guys. They're very good. They're very funny. Outside of and I don't think that's it. I think it's the last content note I have.
Okay. I got 2 notes really quickly.
2 notes.
Bengals have interviewed multiple tight ends this morning.
Oh, wow.
Some of the top tight ends like Jatavion Sanders, Brock Bowers, I believe Cade Stover as well, the Ohio State product. I know lots of you guys love that guy. And I believe Jaheim Bell as well. So, yeah, they're looking at tight ends this morning. So that's an interesting little tidbit to keep in mind in the back of your mind. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, because we didn't really touch on FC besides the score, one just quick little note that I have to say is that Brett Hazley, I believe is his name.
Oh, Brett Hazley, yeah.
He deserves more playing time. The dude is phenomenal. I think he had like 3 assists yesterday, something like that. He was just all over the place. He deserves more playing time. The wife has been saying that. My father-in-law has been saying that. I've been saying that. I think he proved a lot yesterday when what he did yesterday. So I think we should see some more playing time from him.
Some of my favorite Brett Hazley songs are Whiskey Lullaby, Little Moments, When I Get Where I'm Going. These are just a couple of the best Brett Hazley songs. Did you get that, Casey?
Yep, I got that.
It was Brad Paisley, not Brett Hazley. That's it. Time to talk about the Reds, I guess, or do you want to do mock draft first? Which one
I really don't want to do a mock draft. I feel like if we do a mock draft, we've gotten to the part of the show where we've kind of put the caveat in at this point to where we say that we're what's the term to use? We are from 10A-ish to 12P-ish.
Ish.
So today might be one of those ish.
Let's do the mock draft.
situations.
That's good. Let's do the mock draft.
Oh, we're going to do a mock draft.
Let's do the mock draft. Casey, you're going to have to run. I can't see anything up in this board, so you're going to have to tell me what
So we are starting the draft now.
Here we go. Here we go, Trace. We are starting the draft. This is who the Bengals are going to get.
We're at pick number 18. We've got some edge rushers on the board. We know they've been talking to some edge rushers. They got a Jackson Power Johnson, a center, another edge rusher, Latu from UCLA. I really like that guy. Jerzon Newton is a guy
I believe they only talk to the edge rushers because that's who you talk to first on these things, right?
No.
I think that's correct, actually.
I mean, I don't know.
Per my source, that is you talk to the edge rushers first when at this combine. That is why we talk to the edge rushers.
True.
But
Jerzon.
I get your point. My first overall pick, I'm going to go with. We don't need a center. I want Mims. Tracy, I want your guy Mims. Is that fair? Do you want anybody else?
Sure. Yeah, I listen. If you're looking for me for advice, Mim's a good player. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like, you know.
What do you think the Bengals should get here?
Well,
A tackle,
Jolly
an edge
says,
rusher?
Jolly says if Turner's there, you got to take him. So we're taking Dallas Turner. Take him. I want it.
See, this is where you get in a situation where just because someone's there, you have to take them. Like,
Do you not trust Jolly?
I listen. I love Jolly, but at the same time, we don't. None of these guys are guaranteed.
Ooh, Bo Nix is interesting.
No, not a guarantee. Bo Nix, what a stretch that is.
We're in the second round.
So who would we take here? Bo Nix.
You're going to take Chris Jenkins.
Michael Penix's still available, huh? I like Jonathan Brooks, but he's hurt, I believe, Casey. Is that correct?
That's correct. He tore his ACL in October or November or something like that.
What are we doing here? Are we not taking Chris Jenkins?
I think we take Chris Jenkins. I think you're right.
Seriously, I'm asking a question.
No,
I want to know.
I think we're
I
doing
want
it.
people that are smarter than me to tell me why you wouldn't take Chris Jenkins.
Chris Jenkins,
Chris
do it.
Jenkins.
Fire it.
It's a smart pick.
Do you think we're going to
They
get an
need a
A at this
defensive
point, Casey?
What's up?
Do you think our draft grade will be an A at this point? Do we have a shot at an A?
That's debatable. We need it. We need a tight end. We need a tackle. Devondre Sweat there at the bottom.
Patrick Paul, I like. Oh, we can get Corum.
Blake Corum.
I'll tell you what, Cedric Van Pran's going to be a great player in the NFL. I'll call my shot now.
All right, take him.
I'm not saying that's what you need. I have no idea what the Bengals need, but I'm telling you right now that Cedric Van Pran will play in the NFL for a long time.
I like Blake Corum. Are we not going to take Corum? Give me. I mean, do we need a wide receiver? Well, I guess we need a wide receiver too at some point.
You don't need a wide receiver. You got T. Higgins.
There's no good tight ends. Is there any tight end close to here that's relevant?
No. Cade Stover.
But
you could probably wait another round maybe.
Okay, we'll wait for Cade Stover. All right. Then we will take. Give me Patrick Paul. I want Patrick Paul.
Patrick Paul.
Don't know anything about Patrick Paul, but I do like the alliteration.
Yeah.
Jolly says there's no chance he waits until then. I don't know. On our draft, he certainly is there.
How accurate are these mock drafts in regards to?
I would say 0% accurate.
I
would just say zero.
In regards to people being available or not available.
Fantasy land. And we need one more pick. Is there any tight end available here?
I can't believe Tyke Smith's a fourth
Ben
round
Sinnott is a guy that I really like.
Who?
Ben Sinnott, tight end from Kansas State.
Sure, let's do it. We need a tight end.
All right, let's draft this guy here.
All right, we need an A. Oh, wait, we still going?
We can end it if you want. I'll just pick some random guys. We went through the first couple rounds.
Oh, I thought it was only you did 4. Did you do all 7?
Yeah.
This is why Trace is kind of right on mock drafts. Like, what are we even doing with this? Because
What do we do with all of them?
None of it.
What about the first round pick? What do we do with that one?
You don't do anything with it. I guess it's like when you fill out a March Madness bracket, it's fun because it all can happen.
This is horrible.
This is
literally. I mean, listen, you guys threw this on me at the last second here. If you said you want to talk about something, I was like, well, yeah, we can talk about the Reds. Let's talk about the Reds.
Well, we're gonna figure out what our draft grade
All right,
is.
we'll get our draft grade.
And that's it.
Pretty painful for some of us, I know. I do feel sorry for people in the chat at this moment, and I do feel sorry for our OGs. I just want to take this time and apologize that we need to be better. We will get better. We need to get better. This is one of those things. Casey, can you put it on me for a second? Can you put it on me for a second? All right, listen. I this isn't acceptable. This is not the Chatterbox sports type of program that you've come to know in this town. We know that. And I'll tell you what, I'm pissed about it. We're going to fix this. We're going to get it right. I'm competitive as hell. I want to win. We all want to win this program. All of it.
We've got the guys.
I am pissed.
We've got the
and
guys.
we will make it better. We will get better, and we'll be back better than ever, hopefully tomorrow. But for now, just bear with us because we don't have very good for lack of a better term, team in here today.
Is this over? What do we
Yeah,
get
I
now?
mean,
What do we get,
it wasn't
Casey?
it wasn't meant to be a super long segment. It was meant to show how.
What's our grade?
What's our grade? Can you give us our grade?
It's let's see here, a B plus.
Hey,
Hey. Better than school.
when you're talking about
C's get degrees.
when you're talking about what grade do I want on a draft that doesn't make sense or nobody cares about, a B plus is what I'll take. All right, let's switch into real Reds news here. So basically, there were some quotes from David Bell as of yesterday, and I think it's fun to debate this. How many of these spots are already filled out? When you go through spring training, there's a couple of guys that are on the bubble per se.
Yeah.
There's the Stuart Fairchild.
Cincinnati knows a lot about bubbles.
They surely do. But it's interesting to go to discuss who actually has a chance to make the rotation. I think the starting rotation, you have certainly at least 3 or 4 guys that you know are going to be there on opening day. But who is going to get the last 2 spots? Who's going to get the last spot? David Bell said in regards to this, it's definitely not set. In some ways, it's hard to say that because some guys you feel like it's not about them not deserving it or anything, but we only have 5 spots. We have to let it play out a little bit.
Yep.
David would go on to say, Andrew's in a great spot. Brandon Williamson, with what he did for us last season, deserves strong consideration as well. If you had to pick, and I guess the starting 5 right now, and it's assuming Nick Lodolo is going to get
Let's go
healthy.
slow through it.
Hunter Green.
Green.
is our number 1.
Maybe. I don't know about that. We can have a debate about that right now if you like. I don't know if we want to, but I think maybe we can wait a little bit longer in the spring.
You don't
and
think
I know people are gonna be like, well, you shouldn't use the spring as an example as to why one guy is better than the other. But I would just say Frankie Montas being the opening day starter would not surprise me. But Frankie Montas, Hunter Green,
Nick Lodolo. Again,
until Nick Lodolo throws baseballs a considerable amount of time, I don't know. My brain doesn't allow me to believe
all right,
that.
so then it's Graham Ashcraft for sure. Graham is in the rotation.
Correct.
Then you have Andrew Abbott.
Correct.
Then you have Brandon Williamson.
Yes.
And then you would have a guy like Connor Phillips fighting for it.
Yep. That's bubble watched.
And then
Although
you have
I think
Nick
that's
Lodolo. You didn't let
AAA
me
for
count
sure.
Nick Lodolo, so Nick Lodolo.
Nick Lodolo, if he's healthy, I think that's where you start to have this. Tough situation. The good news is that clearly, if somebody were to go down, which is going to happen, you have somebody that we believe in that we can fill in.
Evan says he's healthy.
Yeah, like I said, and Matt McClain's healthy as well, and Jonathan Indy is healthy as well, and I'm not trying to like be a pessimist here or be a Debbie Downer, but I like to see it. You know, I kind of like that in life. Sometimes
That's fair.
Seeing is believing. I'm not trying to be pessimistic towards Lodolo, but again, we were told last year this guy was going to come back, and he never did. So, am I being? I mean, I know that you're the super negative guy, so I shouldn't.
I'm the super negative guy.
I
You
shouldn't
probably
ask
shouldn't
the
ask
super
me.
negative guy. If I'm
As
being
of
too
right now,
negative.
there's nothing to believe. And David Bell did mention in this interview that Nick's been battling, and I think he said he'll be ready. He'll be good to go here soon. So I think you have to factor in Nick in our rotation. You have to.
Okay.
So at this point, our number 1 is Hunter Green. I think me and you agree on that. I think Frankie is our number 2.
See the.
You don't
okay,
think Hunter
fine.
Green? You don't think Hunter Green's the 1?
Not a guarantee, no.
I think that's crazy. He has to be our 1.
I mean, it's somewhat semantical.
He's the guy
matter.
that's locked
it
up.
It really doesn't matter. Until you get to the postseason, what's it really matter who your number 1 is?
It matters a little bit. I mean, it matters.
Frankie Montas and Hunter Green are 1A, 1B, if you want to call it that.
And this is where Hunter Green needs to step up a little bit this year. He can't have a 4.6 ERA. He's got to be the ace. He's got to be the guy. We have to have a leader out there.
It's not even about like what.
I'm all fine with the.
Why do you think Hunter Green's automatically 100% an opening day starter versus like Frankie Montas? Genuinely.
Because
Just because he's been here longer?
Because I think Hunter Green is the future. I think the fans love Hunter Green. I think it's, again, we get into the entertainment side of this, and sports are an entertainment thing. fans are showing up to the ballpark on opening day to see Hunter Green pitch on opening day.
Am I allowed to say something else that's semi-negative?
Frankie Montas's velocity is not that far away from Hunter Green. I'll say that. Frankie Montas can throw some gas now. I think he was throwing 97. You have Hunter Green, who throws baseballs at 100 miles an hour as a starting pitcher. Fans want to see it, and I think if you're able to,
does it matter what the fans want to see?
It doesn't matter what the fans want to see, but I'm just saying that factors into your decision a little bit. I know for a fact it does.
You're putting on a brave face there. I don't know if it ultimately.
You don't think when they're setting the opening day roster,
opening day starter,
when you're going through the list of Frankie Montas, Nick Lodolo, you don't think Hunter Green is going to get probably a lot of the vote for PR purposes, for the fan base, for social media. You don't think that?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I don't think it has one iota matters at all. I think that they're going to put out there whoever they think gives them the best chance to win. Maybe I'm being naive in thinking that, but that's 100% what I believe. Now, as far as Hunter Green and Frankie Montas, who should be the opening day starter, I'll just openly say this. If you, similar to college, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't really have a quarterback. If you have two opening day starters, you don't really have an ace. I think you can argue you have two good pitchers, but I'm not going to say that one of them is a solidified ace at this point.
That's a fair point.
I'm not saying people are going to take that the wrong way, hopefully. I'm not saying that they can't be an ace type of arm. I'm just saying that, at this point, I don't think I can certifiably say that the Reds have an ace. Nobody can sit here and justify that Hunter Green's definitely better than Frankie Montas, or Frankie Montas definitely better than Hunter Green, or even for that matter, hell, let's just go to another step. You could even argue they're better than Lodolo. If healthy, of course. That's a huge asterisk, by the way. Because why? Your best ability is? Come on, Pudding.
Availability. But I think
Thank you.
My point is that you're paying Hunter Green to be your ace. He's locked up as a Red to be the ace. That's why we have him here.
Why are you so hung up on the word ace?
Because I think it matters. I think it matters to have a guy that you know is going to go out there and pitch when you need a guy to go out there and pitch well. On your last game of the season, you want your ace out there, right or wrong? Now, if you're loaded to the gills with pitchers, with starting pitching, sure, you have a little bit of wiggle room there. You can pick and choose, but I think it is important to have a guy that's the number one. When you're going down the lineup in a series, you want your one out there. You want your 1, 2, 3 out there.
And I think that could be justifiable over the course of the season, and you could say that, hey, this guy is our ace. But going into this spring, there is nobody that has a track record, and there's nobody that has done anything on the field when it's mattered for this team that makes me certifiably say that they're the ace. Simple as that. Not a single one of them. Hunter Green has had injury histories. Hunter Green also, if we're being completely honest, hasn't thrown the ball unbelievably well for long stretches of time. He's looked unbelievable, and then the next start, he gets hit around. That's not being negative. I'm just saying he's not an ace. He's not an ace. He could be an ace. He has the ceiling to be an ace. It's like saying Jizzle James is a star. Jizzle James is not a star. He has the potential to be a star. You can see it. There are glimpses of it. But I'm not going to, and again, I don't really get caught up in the semantics of all this really all that much. I could care less. I really genuinely could care less if somebody says that Hunter Green's an ace. It's not going to irritate me. It's not going to make me get all upset. But I'm not going to buy into the idea that you couldn't convince me that Frankie Montas is the ace, if you want to use the term ace. When I think of ace, though, which I don't know how far we've gotten down this rabbit hole, but when someone says someone's an ace, I just think that they are a bona fide frontline starter. You put them up against anybody in the league and you have a chance to win. Is it sad to say that I don't know if we have that?
I don't think it's sad. I don't think it's sad to say that yet. I mean, again, Nick Kirby's putting in the chat that Hunter Green doesn't make as much as some of these relievers, and that's fine. When I say they're paying him to be that, I think a 6-year deal is more than enough to say that this franchise believes in him to be that guy. I think that's fair. I think a 6-year, $53 million contract is more than enough to say that. But yeah, I think if you go throughout your season without a bona fide sub-3 ERA, a guy that's going to be shut or locked down every single time he's out there, You can say that. I don't think we have that. But I think, again, you have to have at some point a set 1, 2, 3. Who's your 1, 2, 3 right now? Because as it's you're not going to say it's Frankie Montas or Hunter Green, so we'll just say 1 and 2 there. Who's the third best pitcher? Is it Abbott? Is it Williamson? Is it Ashcraft? Who is
I would
it?
put Abbott out there. Yeah.
Okay. So what about Lodolo?
Largely because of the lefty. I want to try to make sure that every series, mostly every series,
Okay.
that I'm
So
going to have someone.
so now we
with a different
have Williamson, Ashcraft, and Lodolo to be 4 and 5. Who's the 4 and the 5?
Well, listen, if Lodolo is healthy, and again, that's the biggest asterisk there is. If Lodolo is genuinely healthy, I'm putting him third. Or hell, I'd consider putting him second, if we're being honest. But this guy hasn't pitched in a year.
We have to say he's healthy because that's what he is right now.
Do you think? Here's a fun topic, kind of. Does it even matter? Do you think it matters that much?
About what?
I don't.
About what?
About when these guys go in the rotation, as long as they're consistently throwing.
I mean, yeah, if they're all good.
It's a 162 game season, man. Like they all count the same. That's where again there are times where I don't understand the concept of thinking that you have to have a set rotation or you got to lay these guys out. The playoffs is different, and I tried to do a little bit of the old joke there. By the way, if people are like playoffs, yeah, if we get to the playoffs, Elliot. They have a year worth of throwing the baseball. I get to see who I think is the best. At that point, it is very important. But going into a 162-game season, if you told me right now, you draw them out of a hat and you throw them 1 through 5 and they start throwing the ball, I really don't think maybe people are going to kill me for saying it. I don't think it matters that much.
I think it matters a little bit. I think when you're facing the Brewers and you know it's going to be low scoring, you want your 1, 2, 3 out there.
Well, couldn't you argue the opposite? Like sometimes I think it's better, and I think that lower level college teams, if there wasn't like a stigma around it, they would be better served to throw their 3 guy to the Wolves and just realize that you don't have a great chance of winning the first game, but then the next 2 games you have the better starter 100%.
That certainly comes into play when like you said, it's 162 games. I get all that, but this isn't 100. We're not banking on 100 wins on this team. We're banking that every series is going to have to matter, and that's a fact. The win total right now is 80, 81, right around 500. 500 doesn't get us into the postseason. If we're talking about making the postseason, then yes, stuff like that matters. Stuff like that absolutely matters. You're not going to
convince me that if we run out Hunter Green or Nick Lodolo or Frankie Montas, any 3 of those guys is going to be significantly different, one versus the other.
They don't. Again,
this isn't like Randy Johnson back in the day where you throw Randy Johnson out there and you're like, okay, this guy is significantly better than everyone else. Maybe I'm wrong.
I agree with you, but sir, who do you trust then? Rank the 5 the most you trustworthy. That's what we're doing.
Perhaps that's why this team's speculative to win 81 games.
Who do you trust to go out there and pitch 5 innings and be dominant right now?
Hey, you don't want to know the answer to this.
So you have to tell me. That's what we're doing here. Tell me. Is there any?
It's going to be either Andrew Abbott or Katie Bar the door. But what I seen towards the end of last year, if you said the most consistent guy, I'm going to say it's Brandon Williamson of all crazy people.
So you're going to have Andrew Abbott and Brandon Williamson
who could be the most dominant
as your most trustworthy.
Green.
As your most trustworthy as of right now today, February 29th, Leap Day. You have Andrew Abbott and Brandon Williamson as your most trustworthy guys. You have to say it.
Based off of what I seen towards the end of
last year. Okay, that's fine. You can have that.
I also think, and listen, let me hesitate when I say this, because I think that Hunter Green's by far better than those guys.
But see, now we're playing the game where we switch back and forth.
You asked me who I trusted to go out there and give me 5 innings with my life on it.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. But that doesn't mean that who has a better chance of throwing a shutout. That's a different answer.
I think it's the same answer.
I think no chance it's the same answer. Andrew Abbott, if he's healthy and he's not ran down, he's going to throw strikes. He's going to probably get guys out, and he's going to go 5 innings. Hunter Green has a chance to go out there, like it or not, and get hit around and come out before the 5th inning. But he also might go 8 innings and strike out 15. I don't know. It's a fun debate.
I think it is a fun debate.
That's my point. I don't think.
Who do you trust?
We've kind of got off the subject if we actually think it matters, where they start over the course of 162 season. I think it matters significantly more how many times they start, not where in the rotation do they start.
That's fair, and that's a fair point. I'd argue I want Hunter Green, Frankie Montas, and Nick Lodolo as my top 3. And clearly you don't. Who do you trust the least?
Nick Lodolo.
Nick Lodolo is you trust the least.
If you said you're going into the season and you had to trust a guy that was going to throw all year long, Nick Lodolo is the guy that I trust the least, yes.
Okay.
Which could be our best pitcher.
That's fair.
I mean, it all comes down to
availability,
man.
I would agree with Evan that Graham Ashcraft I would trust the least. That's the guy who I trust the least.
We will find out.
And I think this is fun when you have a team like the Reds have this year, when it's literally stacked to the gills with depth. The Reds have so much depth, it's crazy. And this is what
they do, but they don't. Like
they do,
but they don't.
They do.
Everyone keeps saying it. It's scaring the hell out of me that say they're saying they're stacked to the gills.
They are.
If McLean doesn't play second base, who the hell's playing second base?
It would be Jonathan India.
Oh, my God. We're not stacked to the gills then.
That is stacked to the gills.
No, that's not.
Would you rather have Kevin Newman or Jonathan India?
Kevin Newman could play better second base than Jonathan India.
You're absolutely incorrect.
No, you're ridiculous with this Johnny India stuff. I'll tell you right now, if Jonathan India plays 100 games at second base, you can't tell me that this team has unbelievable depth. In fact, they don't believe in Jonathan India playing second base so much that David Bell has uttered out of his own mouth that he's considered having Candelario play second base.
Then you switch it up. Yeah, you have 5 infielders. So yeah, you'll be fine if McLean goes down. Nobody wants it, but you're okay. That's what depth is.
I just get scared that we're going to consider that this team has unbelievable depth when you look around the field and you can genuinely have question marks. I've done this too many times. I'm not going to do it again. And everyone, this is where it turns into Trace is pessimistic, and I don't mean to be that way. I'm just saying, let's not act like this is some world-class, guaranteed, certified roster that we can take to the bank and we know we're going to win with. We can be excited as hell for what we have, and we should be. I'm excited as hell for it because I think we have a lot of young guys that believe that they're players. I think this team actually does believe they are legit. Believing and being are two different things, but you have to believe first, to be fair. I think that's a prerequisite to being great, is believing you can be great. Nobody has ever been great in life thinking they might be great. They've always believed they can be great. So I am excited that these young guys feel the way they do. And I do think that there's some naiveness there that they might actually just not know how hard it is to win the division. It reminds me of young players that get in the NFL and they make the Super Bowl their very first year, and then they realize at the end of their career, damn, it's a lot harder to get to the Super Bowl than I realized when I was young.
Nobody's saying the Reds should be favored to win this division. Nobody. And if you are saying that, you're crazy.
But you can't say that they're stacked to the gills with depth.
They are. Last year when an outfielder went down, who was replacing it? It was T.J. Hopkins, and who else was it? Harrison Bader towards the end of the year.
There was some bad names out there.
Michael
forget
Ciani.
Henry Ramos. There was some bad names.
Alejo Lopez. I don't slander Alejo Lopez. That was my guy. He never got a fair chance. But Alejo Lopez was our depth last year. Kevin Newman was our depth last year. We don't have that problem anymore. You can slander Jonathan India till your ears turn blue. But again, Jonathan India is a Major League Baseball player. Kevin Newman was a mediocre bat and a mediocre defensive player. That's a fact. He was kicking around balls at second base, maybe not as much as Jonathan India, but it was close. I remember a game where I think he had 3 errors. So it's not like he's innocent. And I think if you go through the last 2 seasons, when the Reds have used 70-plus players in a given season, each one of those times, by the way, breaking the franchise record, yeah, depth is important. Depth is how we survive. In game 162 in the month of September, when we have nothing and nobody, Andrew Abbott's arm's falling off. This is why you have this. This is why you go out and do this. This is why you sign Nick Martinez. You have guys everywhere to back in, to fill in when somebody goes down. It's next man up. And I think that's where I think Reds fans get excited, rightfully so. I'm not saying the Reds are World Series contenders. I'm not saying that they should win the division. I'm saying they could. They could absolutely go out and win the division. They could win a playoff series. I firmly believe that. Could they show out this year and be terrible? 100%. The rookies, I don't see it happening, but they could surely go out there and disappoint everybody. Because when you play so good in your rookie season last year, surely, there's only one way to go, and that's down. But I think there's also another option where you can stay at that line. Ellie De La Cruz is going to have a better year. Spencer Steer, I think, is going to stay on that line. I think Matt McClain is going to be as good as he was.
Well, it's fair to say all that, but it's another thing to do that.
Sure, 100%. But
Matt
that's
McClain
the hypothetical.
was world class, brother. Matt McClain was world class. If Matt McClain plays as well as he played during the stretch that he was healthy, he'll be an all-star. He will be an all-star. That's not normal, is what I'm getting at. TJ Friedel, what happens if he doesn't play well? Where's our depth there? Are you gonna and listen? I know who the backup is, but everybody is gonna sit there and scream and yell about how terrible he is, and you know who it is. Who is it?
I'm not gonna sit and yell at Stewart. I'm not gonna do it.
But I'm just saying that is genuinely who the backup is. Just so we're all clear. If TJ Friedel goes down, guess who's playing center field? Stuart Fairchild. And I'm not saying that Stewart can't do it. But I'm gonna just, all I'm saying is let's pump the brakes on acting like this team it has so many players that we don't have spots for them, or essentially there's really not going to be any kind of letdown in any area, because if there is a letdown, we have someone to plug and play no matter what. That's all I'm saying.
And by the way, Stuart Fairchild, I slander him, and I probably shouldn't do it. He's not a horrible baseball player. I make the joke because I get frustrated watching him. But if Stuart Fairchild is the very worst player on your roster offensively, you're doing a very good job at getting players on your team. Your depth is phenomenal. If he's the very worst, because you can get a whole lot worse than Stuart Fairchild. A whole lot worse. And that's where it's like when you get to the month of September, and that's all I want. All I want from this team any year ever. And that's how low the bar is here in Cincinnati. I just want the month of September to mean something. It doesn't mean much over the past, 10 years. It hasn't meant a whole lot.
Yeah, listen.
Last year it meant something. This year it's going to mean something.
Nick says he loves Stuart Fairchild, but there's also Jacob Hurtubise and Dunn, and some will say Reese Hines and all these guys. Like, I'm not trying to be the pessimistic guy here, but I'm just saying we have become so numb to the notion that these rookies are going to walk right in the door and do what the rookies of last year did, and I just don't believe that. I don't think that's normal. In fact, I know that's not normal. So, again, the idea that Jacob Hurtubise is going to step into the big leagues and be on a team that's going to try to make the postseason and it's going to be successful, I hope I'm wrong in saying this, but I don't think that's as smooth of a transition as we would all hope it to be. And again, TJ Friedel's a starting center fielder, so let's not go down this crazy path of hypotheticals forever. My main point, and I don't know how we got here, is that I'm not really overly concerned about who we deem as the ace, the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
That's fair. Labels
it's interchangeable. It's interchangeable. I could care less. I genuinely could care less. If Hunter Green threw on the third day of the season, people would think that's crazy. I don't know if it matters in the grand scheme of things, because the way that I've seen things go in the past is ultimately guys get hurt, they come back, and then eventually it'll sort itself all out. Yes. And of course, logical thinking would like to think that you're going to want to throw your best arm against their best arm. But I don't know, until the season gets going for a little bit of time, nobody is going to go and step out on a limb and put a lot of their money on one of these guys being better or significantly better than any of the other guys.
But this goes back to my question, which started the whole thing.
Yes.
Is that we have 5 starters that get a job. We have Hunter Green, we have Nick Lodolo, we have Frankie Montas,
Yes.
we have Andrew Abbott. Who gets the 5th?
I know what's going to end up
Who's
happening.
the 5th?
I know what's going to end up happening, and I hate it, but I think Brandon Williamson's going to be the odd man out.
I agree with you.
And unfortunately, you know what that comes down to? And I'll tell you this is an absolute fact. It comes down to how they got to where they're at and their stigma that surrounds them, or their reputation that preceded them before they got to the big leagues. 100%. That is an absolute fact. If Jacob Hurtubise was the number 1 first-round pick, Jacob Hurtubise would be on the big league club. But that's not how it goes. The reputation that preceded Brandon Williamson before he got in the big leagues was that he was not a big league arm, and he was inconsistent, and he couldn't throw strikes, and all of that stuff may be true. But as soon as he actually got his chance and the bright lights came on, he was a different pitcher. He was a different type of guy. My concern with Brandon Williamson, and I hope this doesn't happen, but my concern is that now you send him back to AAA, and then he gets himself to where he feels like he's got to be extra perfect to get another opportunity, and then it spirals out of control to a certain extent, and you'll never get the guy that you had that believed that he belonged last year. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he'll end up going down to AAA, and he'll continue to throw the ball really, really well, and he'll come back up and help this club if they need him, which you would suspect they would, because somebody ultimately is not going. Someone's going to miss a start. I say that with a little hesitancy because what year Nick would know off the top of his head, but there was a year obviously that the Reds did not have a starter that missed a start, which was absurd. Mid 2010s, I think, is when it was, like 12 or 13 maybe. But point being is that we'll see. Williamson's going to be the odd man out.
I think unfortunately that's where we are too, and
we're going to trust Nick Lodolo to get the job done.
That's what we have to do. That's what you have to do at least to start. And if it doesn't, there's only so many ways I can say it, but you have to stay healthy. If we're going to go down, if Hunter Green's missing months again, I can't defend it anymore. Nate has a question for you. Are there dates for which the Chatterbox tickets are, or are they not set yet?
We have like a couple spots left. So for those that are wanting to do that, please do that this week. My plan is I'm actually going to go through that later today and start to put down the list of folks that are in the group, reach out to them, and let them know the date that we're going to work on kind of drafting the games, if you will. And then that way we will also do the raffle for the opening day tickets because we have the tickets or whatever for opening day. We'll make sure that the people know at least well in advance that they've won the tickets, so they can obviously try to request off work if that's something they need to do, or maybe they realize they can't go because of other obligations, and then therefore they have the ability to kind of maybe trade those or whatever it may be. But if you go on to chatterboxsports.com, go to the store, you should be able to find the opening day, or not the opening day, but the Chatterbox Reds season tickets. I think the number's like under 10 that we have left there, and I've not pushed that yet really super hard. I planned on doing that during spring training. Was like, hey, if you put it this way, if you want to be a part of the group, there's only a few spots left. So do that now if you're interested. But
I might still do it. Casey, I do have a cherry on top. We did some very serious. We got to the serious sports talk today. That was good. That was good of us. Shout out to you. You got us there.
Yeah, I mean, very hypothetical, but
we got there. I was worried we weren't going to get there with that terrible mock draft. Apparently, the chat liked the mock draft, and me and you just hated it. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
I think there's rumors swirling on our chat that they liked the mock draft.
Really?
Yeah.
They thought the mock draft was good?
Yeah.
I think me and you thought that was the lowest point we've been at off the bench.
I think I agree. I thought that draft was going to be more fun. I thought there was going to be like more like colors or something on there that would have made that more entertaining. But that was terrible. Cherry on top. I sent this to Casey. This was one of the wildest stories maybe of all time. I believe what happened here was there was a Willie presented by United Dairy Farmers. Great company.
What's your favorite ice cream there at United Dairy Farmers?
Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Nice.
Chocolate chip cookie dough. So, apparently, there was a Willy Wonka immersive experience that promised to transport fans into a magical realm. Unfortunately, it left children in tears, and the event turned out to be such a letdown that customers called the police and compared the attraction to a meth lab. So let's roll through some of these little images. Look at that. Look at that. This is what children were paying $44 to go see. This is a Willy Wonka. What part of the movie does this guy come out at? This is a Willy Wonka experience. I don't remember him crawling out of the chocolate river. I guess this was like the look at this. What is Willy Wonka cooking up back there? Look at the set design. This was $44. This was $44. I don't know who concocted that. I believe the guy who played Willy Wonka was a comedian, and this company paid him like a decent amount of money to go act and learn your lines as Willy Wonka.
kind of drugs do you think people were on when they put that set together?
Oh, I don't know. It's got to be something serious, though. It's got to be something illegal in all 50 United States. So, whoever organized that, that's wild. Because I mean, who was the guy in the skull mask crawling out of the back?
Yeah.
When was that in Willy Wonka? I mean, I'm trying to think of. And again, the what was the title? It was in a Willy Wonka immersive experience that promised to transport fans into a magical realm.
Transport them to the shadow realm.
I mean,
they missed that part.
They sent him to the sewers. So that's tough. That was a wild story that went viral yesterday. It was very, very funny. That's all I have.
Well, we're in the final planning stages of this trip. We were trying to figure out some things last night that we thought would make some good content. It turns out that Elliot is scared of heights.
There's gonna be.
I didn't know this. I found this out last night. I wanted to go and do some kind of I don't know what it was actually called. What was it? It was basically, for lack of a better term, rock climbing, but you were cheating rock climbing. It was more or less like a tethered rope that you basically like slide on.
I can do heights if I know I'm safe, if I'm in something. The harness thing, I don't trust the harness. There's something about a harness. I did a ropes course when I was younger. I hated every second of it because you can't look down, and I'm scared and I'm nervous. And Trace wanted me up on the side of a cliff filming content. I'm all for content. I recommended rafting. And unfortunately, apparently, there's rafting seasons where the water's
I don't
too
understand
cold.
how you thought it wasn't going to be too cold.
I
Could
don't
you
know.
imagine
It's-
going down the river somewhere around here right now? How cold the water would be, Elliot?
I guess.
Turns out, thank God, there is seasons, and you can't just go whitewater rafting when it's 20 degrees outside.
I guess you can't. But me and Nick Kirby, we would have shoved ourselves into a raft.
I don't know Nick Rudy that, but go ahead.
And I would have made Nick do it, and we would have gone down the river, and we would have had some fun. You can't get hurt in water. That's a saying that's not true at all, but that's what at least I believe. I like my chances to defend myself in a swirling river off the side of a mountain. That was my thoughts. But yes, this trip will be wild. I don't know. I think someone's gonna get hurt, but.
I'm not going to get hurt. No one's going to get hurt. No one's going to get hurt.
I think this is going to turn into something where we're going to start doing stuff for content, and that content turns hurtful. I think that's what like Trace is going to wake me up one night in the van, and he's going to put a tarantula on my head. Like that's what this is going to turn into, and that's okay. I'm all for the content, but I want everybody.
You're not for the content if it has to do with heights.
Well, yeah, but I'm not.
Why can't you walk over like one of those little small suspension bridges? Basically you got the harness on, you got the carabiner, the whole thing where you're making sure you don't fall, and you just don't believe that the math or the science is going to pan itself out. You rather go on a whitewater rapid stream, fall into that water, and think that it's just as safe, to be clear, just as safe as something that's been around for 40 or 50 years that people have done day in and day out and nobody's died on yet. You think that whitewater rafting is significantly safer. That's where I don't understand the logic there.
Because I think, again, I trust myself in water more than I trust myself on the side of a cliff.
But the side of the cliff, they have you strapped and harnessed in.
I'm wearing a life jacket in the water.
The water,
floats.
you're not tethered to anything.
Yeah, but it floats. I float. So that's what we'll do. That's fine. But get ready for that. We'll have a send-off video on Monday. Again, this trip has rapidly approached us. On February
we got a lot
29th.
of things that we need to get done around here. And speaking of that, the plan is currently tomorrow. Depending on how the rest of the day goes today, tomorrow we're going to figure out something with Off the Bench. Somebody will be hosting this show, certainly. If it's not me, it's going to be because I have to get the van that we're going to take all the way across the world, it perceives to be, ready to go, prepared for takeoff. Because the only thing that could really ruin this trip, if we're being completely honest, is the vehicle not doing what it's supposed to do, and or we're stuck on the side of the road because we have flat tires and we don't have any tires to put back on said vehicle.
Yeah, we need a couple of those tires.
For those that don't know, Reed Mouse ripped off the top of the solar panels off the van. So there's what used to be a great, nice van that you could go and drive, and there was lights and there was outlets that worked and all that. Turns out that doesn't That doesn't work anymore when you rip the solar panels off the top of the van. So I'm going to try to fix that this week. And by week, I'm talking about this, I guess, tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. I also made a grave mistake. That's not the right word to say. I've made a little slight miscalculation of the commitment level that it takes to be a manager of a Little League team. So I signed myself up to be a manager of a Little League team. Turns out you have to go to a tryout, watch kids at a tryout, then draft said kids at tryout, and that all happens this weekend and on Monday. So we're going to probably leave right after the draft of the Little League draft on Monday.
Oh, my God.
Maybe I can find a substitute. Can
you back out of this?
I thought about making it content, but then I thought, I don't think this league's going to love the idea of maybe me videoing myself doing a draft of kids, and then probably parents watch that, and then they don't like the things that, come about in said draft.
Yeah,
so that's a bad content idea that I had, but a good one. I think that would actually be pretty entertaining, for being honest.
It certainly would be something.
It would nothing would be better than having some footage of the tryout and just being like CFP.
Can you not back out of the?
You know what that means?
Can you not back out of the draft or out of the coaching thing?
No. When I make a commitment, the one stupid thing I've always done in my life is that no matter what, when I make a commitment, I stick to it.
It's fair.
Ever since 7th grade football, that's happened. I would have loved to have quit 7th grade football in the middle of the year because I could not stand it. But I was told then, and it's stuck with me ever since, that if you quit something, it makes it easier to quit the next time. And before you know it, you'll be a quitter. So I'm not going to be a quitter. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to be the Little League manager. I'm going to do my best. We're going to see what it ultimately entails. As far as winning, I don't care about winning. I really don't care about winning.
You do.
Yes, I do very much. I very much care about winning, as you know. But I'm saying, that's not what this is about for me. So I don't really.
Nobody's cared about
the tryout and the draft. This whole serious thing. I get why you do it because you have to try to make teams even or whatever. But I'm not. I'm hoping that other people don't get mad at me because I don't draft somebody and they think that I ruined the league because I didn't pick the best player that I should have known about because I'm not recruiting. I'm not out there in the streets asking which players are the best. So I'm gonna have like 10 swings and 10 ground balls to judge every kid on, which I don't know if you know much about baseball, Elliot.
I do.
That's not the easiest thing to do sometimes.
No.
So there might be a kid that's actually really good that just walks into the gymnasium on a Saturday that could care less, and maybe his dad, before he walked in, told him to sabotage the tryout and act like he's terrible. That could work on me, if we're being clear. That could work on me. We'll see if I can sniff all that out. I hope that doesn't happen.
Jolly says
But I am very prone to that.
Jolly says you should flip it to auto draft.
I'd love that. What if I just gave them the list of my top 100 kids and just said, whichever one's available, take that one?
Yeah.
That should work.
Probably the way to do it.
But I think what I'll do is I'll send someone in my absence and give them that list, and then they could do that for me.
Okay.
That's my hope. We shall find out. This has been Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. We are very thankful for all of our sponsorships that we get on this channel, and we have a big one coming up next week that we're hopeful that you will be supportive of. I was told that this is the smallest organization/deal they've ever done, and they, for whatever reason, wanted to see if the market size of what we do would work for them. That is the verbatim words that I got from them. And I said, all right, I'm up for the challenge. We'll see what that looks like. But till tomorrow.
Nick Kirby, Chatterbox Reds video premiering right now.
Yes. What he just said is true. We have a Chatterbox Reds video premiering right now. So you go enjoy that, and we'll see you better than ever tomorrow. Take care, everybody.